This is Benny Chapman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, withoutyourhead.com.
All right, and we're back here at Without Your Head. I'm still Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
I believe we're joined by Seth Heiss. You around there, Seth?
Yeah.
All right. And we're joined by Sebastien Godin. And he's going to tell us about his new movie and all kinds of good stuff. So how you doing?
I'm doing swell, thank you very much.
Excellent. Excellent. So what is Lycanimator? Tell us about this.
Lycanimator is my first feature film. It's a micro-budget monster movie, kind of a throwback to what Brian Yuzna and Stuart Gordon were doing in the late 80s through to the early 90s. You know, stuff like Reanimator, From Beyond, and so on and so forth.
Very cool. So what was the inspiration behind this?
The inspiration behind it was I was talking with my producer, Dustin Hubbard, one night about how I felt the micro-budget horror community had kind of teetered away from effects-heavy, cool creature stuff and was focusing more on, like, torture and slasher films, and how, like, there are a handful. There's, like, Dustin Mills and Mark Poloni and Brett Piper, but there's not enough creature features being made in the micro-budget world. And I said, I'd love to make my own original monster. And I was like, I want it to be this kind of Reanimator-esque movie, but with, like, a classic figure like a werewolf or a vampire. And that's how the idea kind of sprung about.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned we had him on the show who did Queen Crab, Polonia.
Okay.
And don't you his son's involved in this?
Anthony Polonia is wearing a lot of hats on this movie. He's doing additional creature effects as well as serving as the art director for the film.
Very cool. How did you get to know him?
It's kind of weird. He had added me on Facebook, and we just started talking about movies and stuff, and I was like, he was telling me that he makes tentacles as therapy for himself. Like, when he's feeling stressed, he just makes tentacles. And I was like, you know, it's funny. The first draft of the script had our, slight spoiler, our werewolf sprouts tentacles in one point, and I was like, but we couldn't find someone to make them, so I cut them out, and he's like, well, put them back in, and I'll get some done for you, and that's
awesome.
how he got involved.
Yeah, I like this. So, explain to us what I know you don't want to spoil the movie, but it's a werewolf, and he's got tentacles, and on the Facebook he said it's slimy and hairy. Like,
Yeah,
how does this all come together?
You know, the creature is, like I said, I wanted to take I wanted to take a classic mythological figure like a werewolf and give it this 80s body horror aesthetic. So basically what we did was I pictured in my head just a normal wolf man, and then I started adding things as I thought about him. I thought, well, what if he has limbs coming out of his arms, like human fingers sprouting out of him? What if his jaw splits in half whenever he roars? What if he has tentacles that sprout randomly out of his abdomen? I just kept adding stuff to make this really strange interpretation of a traditional werewolf.
Mm-hmm. I like this.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were some of your movies? You mentioned a few directors stuff, but what's some of the movies that inspired you to create this?
Some of the big inspirations for the film were Slime City by Greg Lamberson. He's one of my biggest influences. I consider him my American father figure just because he's been there for me quite a bit in recent days. Other films that have been influential on it were, like, you know, the obvious ones, The Fly by Cronenberg.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other stuff. Like, there's so many. The general idea of taking the monster and making it really gross came from a very recent film, Shin Godzilla, where they took a classic movie monster and fucked him up hard. I'm trying to think of other ones. Like, it's just so many different influences. There's a bit of Pumpkinhead in there in a lot of what I visualized while writing it.
Huge fan of Pumpkinhead.
Old school anime like Legend of the Overfiend and Wicked City, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah. Have you actually created the werewolf yet?
Mm-hmm. The werewolf is two different components. It's a suit that has been made by Toby Johansson, who directed Hacksaw and Backyard Vampire. And then for close-ups, we have this very cool wire-operated puppet that Dustin Mills is making for us.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds very exciting. This sounds like a super fun project to work on.
Oh, it's a blast. I'm like, this is heaven for me. This is all I've ever wanted to do, so I'm pretty happy.
Mm-hmm. I assume this is your first. Is this your first feature? Your first movie altogether?
Oh, my first feature. I've been making shorts since I was 15.
Mm-hmm. What kind of shorts?
My very first one was a cannibal comedy called Eating Out, which I made when I was 15 years old. It starred Lloyd Kaufman. And
Nice.
then I did a vampire comedy called Fang Bang. This was before I knew about the True Blood thing, so...
Mhm.
And then I did, and I went into film school. I did Labor Pains, which was a woman giving birth to a tentacle. And then I did
I love
Out of
it.
the Box, which was about two guys locked in a room with a box, and well, they end up opening it, and bad things happen. And then I made a movie called The Fix, which was about a vampire suffering from withdrawals. And then I recently finished a short called Ghoulish, which is about an unearthed, lost grindhouse movie, which is just kind of, it's my last attempt at doing a comedy, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Why your last attempt?
Because I'm not very good at it.
Fair
I
enough.
don't, comedy is so scary. I hate writing comedy. I hate writing anything with the intent of making people laugh. It's so bothersome to me.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of people say that comedy's the hardest thing to pull off. I was actually watching a David Lynch interview recently, and he said that was the hardest thing for him to write.
It's not fun to try to write fun stuff. Like, I think that what I write is generally fun, but going out to get laughs out of people is scary.
Mm-hmm. So, where can you see these shorts?
Most of them are up on Vimeo. You can just look up Seb Godin on Vimeo, and then they should be up there. If not, then people can feel free to reach out to me, and I'll shoot them the link or whatever.
Yeah, I'm interested in watching these.
Yeah, I'll send them your way.
Yeah. Which one are you most
Have
proud
you
of?
had any
Sorry, Angel.
experience with claymation or stop animation?
See, I really want to, because I grew up on like Ray Harryhausen
Nice.
movies and the original King Kong and stuff like that. I originally kind of had an idea that I wanted the Lycanimator to be stop motion during certain scenes, but that would have been very time consuming.
Uh-huh.
True.
Money does not exist on this project. So
I don't know if you saw the movie Basket Case, but there is some stop motion animation in that.
love that movie.
Yeah.
And in
I
lots of
don't know
other
how long it took to make or how expensive it was. It's very amusing. I don't know if you're going for amusing with this movie, though.
It's supposed to be fun. I think like if you like Basket Case and Frankenhooker and like Henry Lauder's other movies, you'll dig it quite a bit because it's got that aesthetic to it.
Mm-hmm. How did you get Lloyd Kaufman in one of your early shorts? Being like 15.
I
Just
asked him.
All right, fair enough.
I was friends with a guy named Chris Watson who did a movie that Troma released called Zombigeddon, and I asked him, "Do you have Lloyd's contact info?" And he shot me his email address, and I emailed Lloyd, and that was it.
The little bit we've ever done anything with him, he's a very nice guy, so it doesn't surprise me that he'd be willing to do it.
The closest thing I've ever known to like a living, breathing cartoon.
He's freaking funny. His wife is really nice, too. I don't know if you met Pat.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. Yeah,
Yeah,
total
she's
sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. So, what was the movie he was in?
It was called Eating Out, and it was my very first short film, and that's why I don't often tell people to seek it out.
Does he play a cannibal in it, or does he cannibalize?
It's funny. He plays himself, but he's also playing Satan. He's playing Satan as himself.
All right, that makes total sense. I can see it. So, how did? What was the decision to go from the shorts to a feature?
I just, there was a very 6 to 8 months prior to having decided to pursue this project were probably the most turbulent my life has ever had, and I decided that I'm stuck in a rut. I'm graduating from film school, and I just want to show that I can make something. And so I decided, along with Dustin, my producer, I decided, fuck it, I gotta make something that kind of tells the world that this is who I am and this is what I plan to do with the rest of my life. And that's what this movie is.
What are like the other people making in film school? You're making werewolves that are slimy with tentacles, and I assume they're making different things. I don't know.
I come out of a digital cinematography program that aims to train people for the film industry to work as like, crew folk. And so people there are a lot of great artists that I went to school with who I still call my friend and who I still love to work with and chat with. But for the most part, the stuff they made was more like technically polished, whereas my stuff was more sporadic and chaotic, I guess.
Uh-huh.
More fun is what you mean.
Fun. Yeah, that's the word. I love fun. Because that's what I became known for. I remember, I think like the second week of school, a guy asked me, said, "Why do you watch all these shitty B movies?" And I just looked at him and I said, "Because it's fun." And that became my trademark to them.
Mm-hmm. Did you open them up to any of these movies? Did you say, "Hey, watch Basket Case or Pumpkinhead or anything"? And
yeah, I quite a few. I showed one of my friends. I'm trying to think of which movie it was, but he hated me for it. It made him feel so uncomfortable.
Really?
I think I may have shown some people Reanimator, and they had walked out at the part where Dr. Hill's head is trying to go down on Barbara Crampton.
Everyone that's seen that movie knew exactly what you were talking about. Yeah, they walked out. I know when that happened.
It was funny because Annabelle, I went to see it at a midnight screening, and Annabelle hadn't seen it before, and I just knew when that came up, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great."
Well, I saw it on TV.
Right. So it had that part.
It was different.
Yeah.
But I could see you getting all excited about what kind of crazy reaction I was going to have. You was like, wait, all right.
And, it took about a year for people to get accustomed to it. And then after a while, they just accepted. My one good friend who came out of the program referred to me as the monster boy of Canadore College from that point on.
That's okay.
I was proud of that. I still own it. I'm like everyone's favorite subhumanoid.
So, what are some of your favorite werewolf movies?
Oh boy, I love The Howling. One of my favorite movies of all time is An American Werewolf in London. Like everyone's favorite movie is An American Werewolf in London. I grew up on
not part two, because I wasn't here for this guest, and I don't know if they'll be listening to this, but apparently someone's favorite werewolf movie was American Werewolf in Paris.
Yeah.
That's
it was in mid-sentence because I asked him his favorite werewolf movies, and he said American Werewolf, and I just assumed he's going to say, in London, and I was like, I started to say, oh yeah, then he said in Paris, and I was like, well, but
I grew up watching like the old Universal movies, so the original Wolfman, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, the Hammer movie, Curse of the Werewolf. There's a really obscure direct-to-video movie from the 90s with Kane Hodder and Barry Bostwick called Project Metal Beast, and that's a major favorite of mine.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I like the name.
Project Metal Beast DNA Overload. It's like the perfect title. And I'm trying to think of other werewolf movies I like. Like, there's a lot of movies that have cool werewolves, but they're kind of shitty. Like, I don't like Waxwork, but that's a sweet werewolf.
Did you like Dog Soldiers?
Oh, Dog Soldiers is great.
Yeah.
I like Late Phases. That's a fun movie.
I like that too. Not everybody likes it. I really enjoyed it.
I like the big bug-eyed werewolves. I think they're kind of cute.
I prefer the two. Do you prefer a 4-foot or a 2-legged werewolf?
I want a wolf man. I don't want a big wolf. I want like a horrible mix of a human and a wolf. So,
because it's weird. American Werewolf in London probably is my favorite werewolf movie, but it's not my favorite werewolf. I actually don't really care for the werewolf in it. The scene where he transforms is amazing, but the actual werewolf I'm not really in love with.
Yeah, for as good as the transformation is, the werewolf itself, its final form, is very lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool looking. It's just not what we would want to see for a werewolf.
That, and they kind of do the Alien Jaws thing where they only show it for like 3 minutes, so you never get a chance to become accustomed to the design of the wolf.
True.
So it doesn't grow on you. It doesn't get the time to.
That's true. Yeah, it kind of ends immediately when you actually finally see it. It's just bam, then the movie ends.
I think you get like maybe 4 good shots of it through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. So, What's with the love of tentacles?
What's not great about tentacles? I think that there's just something so hilarious to me that back in the early to mid 80s, I think, this is going off on a tangent, but in Japan, they weren't allowed to show male genitals in pornography, so to get around this, the people who drew the anime porn hentai, they started drawing tentacles, and I thought to myself, that is so fucking funny. And ever since then, I've had this kind of fascination with just replacing, this gives you a hint as to where this plays into in the movie, of replacing sexual organs with tentacles.
Yeah. It is weird because it's so much worse than if they just showed
It's so much worse. Then you're adding in bestiality pretty much.
Yeah.
It's so ass backwards. I love it.
That's Japan. It's a fantastic place.
Bless them.
Now, I wasn't really up about going, but now I think about the tentacles.
Yeah, no, Japan, I've been planning to go there for so long. Like, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so just that's a dream of mine to go there and visit all the locations.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Japan is so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, have you been?
Yeah, I went for about 3 weeks, maybe 4 years ago. I was very, very fortunate to go. And it was just incredible. And I wasn't really, really into Japan a ton. I just had the opportunity to go. And so I went and I came back. Favorite place. Just my favorite place. It was phenomenal. Lovely. Beautiful and crazy. It was, what you think about Japan, you think about beautiful trees and pretty dresses and all this stuff. And then you think Godzilla and tentacles, and that's what it is. It's all out there. I'll tell you, DVD store is like not what you would think here. The DVD store there can be like 4 stories high. It says DVD all over the place. You go in, and there's like a little tiny rack by the door that's got a bunch of crappy Adam Sandler movies and just shit. And then everything else is porn.
Oh man,
it's just porn and endless porn. It's not just like animated stuff. It's everything. It's so if you go and you hope to find a DVD, best of luck unless it's porn, and then you're golden.
And everything's so expensive over there. Like, I have a buddy who imports shit out of Japan all the time. Their new release Blu-rays are like $80.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Pretty crazy. But if you want to buy an awesome kitchen knife that's like as long as your arm, place to be.
That's why it takes so long for new release Japanese movies to come over here, is because they don't want people over there to import the cheaper US releases.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I just broke my knife. I need a new knife. You mentioned that.
Go to Japan.
Yeah. My ceramic knife, the tip broke right off. It's bad times. I'm very sad about this.
I'm sorry for your bad news.
It is. It's sad. I just for people out there, Nasty Neil likes the ceramic knives. I think they cut very well and they stay sharp. But we're not here to talk about knives. But
no.
No. So so you begin shooting the movie in July, is what I understand.
Yeah, I fly out of Toronto on July the 5th. I land in Tampa that same day, and then we begin rolling around the 8th.
Mm-hmm. So where are you filming this?
Sorry?
Where are you filming this?
I'm filming it in Sarasota, about an hour outside of Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Why is that?
Because it's cheaper to fly one person out there than it is to fly like 7 over here. Because we have like Joel D. Winecoop and Dustin Hubbard and Tyler Hossley. They're all Florida natives, so it's cheaper to just get myself over there.
Have they already picked out the locations, or is that something you're going to do once they're out there?
I just received about a week ago pictures of the location. It's kind of fucking haunted. I'm nervous to shoot in it, truth be told, but it looks sweet. It's going to look great on camera.
What's creepy about it?
Dude, I'm telling you, this guy went out to get pictures of the place for it, and he took pictures, and there's just this thing in the window. I'll send you the pictures when we're done here, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
The cast has to sleep in there. I feel so bad for them.
Oh, really? So it
just add to the ambiance.
exactly.
Exactly.
Some of the best movies that we've seen, the directors push them to the extremes, and it's the performance of a lifetime.
I hope to someday be able to do what Werner Herzog did with Klaus Kinski, where he had to sit behind the camera with a gun pointed at Kinski the whole time to get the right performance out of him.
You need your Klaus Kinski.
I don't think the world needs another Klaus Kinski, but I'd like to have a very problematic actor at least once, yeah.
Have you met, like, the people that's going to be in this? Or this will be the first time you're meeting them?
I know most, like, I've known Dustin for a while through online and whatnot, and same with Tyler Hosley's a friend from way back, and yeah, like a bunch of people. Toby Johansson, who's doing the main suit, is an old friend of mine. Dustin I've met a couple times, conventions, and been to his house in Ohio a couple times. But everyone else is new to me. Like, I'm so nervous to work with Jolie Wynkoop and Jeff Strand and those folks, because those are the bigger names, and Nicola Fiore as well.
Mm-hmm. So,
What is your concern that they're going to meet you and be like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
That's the thing. They've worked with Dustin a bunch of times, so my hope is that I can just stand behind him for like 2 minutes. Then they get accustomed to my presence, and then I take charge from that point on.
So, what's the plan once you finish the movie? You're going to release it on DVD? You're going to bring it to festivals, or
it's going to do a small festival run, and around that same time, people will be able to buy limited editions off of me, and then from that point on, I hope to just hand it off to a distributor who will make sure it gets seen, and that's all I really want.
Yeah.
I know that the nature of things, especially with the micro-budget film industry, is that you get fucked over regardless of who you go with. So as long as it's someone who gets it out there, that's all I really care about.
Mm-hmm. I think it's best to have that attitude going in, because then, no matter what happens, you're not going to, feel that you were.
Better.
Yeah.
It's better to be pessimistic and then have like a pleasant surprise than to be optimistic and have your hopes crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from?
Lycanimator?
Yeah.
Reanimator and a lycanthrope.
I was like a Terminator.
It's so fucking awful at first because I was like, like a lichen animator. And I was telling my friend Spencer, who made a very funny short film called Stiffed, and he looked at me and said, "Shouldn't it be Lycanimator? Doesn't that like sound so much better?" And I was like, "I'm not going to credit you, but I am going to take that title."
That'd be an awesome credit. Title, concept, altered by.
Yeah. It's that's how it came about, really, and it's kind of goofy. I know that if I handed it off to a distributor, they'll probably want to change it to something a lot simpler. That's why I have like backup titles in mind for it as well.
Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot in a title. If the title is weird or whatever about it, if it strikes you, you're more likely to give it a shot than if it's something pretty mundane.
It definitely catches people's eye, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem to be a good representation of what you're going for. Like, there's horror, but it's ridiculous at the same time. So
yeah, and it's like it's not a parody, it's not a comedy, but it's still fun. That's the thing. I didn't want to make a joke. I just wanted to make a simple, fun B movie that doesn't mock itself.
Mm-hmm. I've always think that those are more fun. I think a lot of times when the movie's kind of in on the joke, it takes away from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
If they're
I feel like there's this very toxic self-awareness about micro-cinema that is thankfully fading away, but for a while it's what ruled kind of the landscape.
Mm-hmm. So what are some recent movies that you enjoy?
Like in terms of independent releases or mainstream releases?
Anything, really.
Independent-wise, I really loved this short film I saw screened at Shockstock a couple weekends ago called Human Cattle. I don't know where people can see it, but it's insane, and it's got great effects work.
I like the name.
Otherwise,
it sounds pretty dark.
Yeah, No, it's not. It's so goofy.
Really?
It's an Amazon cannibal parody, but like it stops being a cannibal movie at the very end, and it becomes this like creature feature with this monster that sprays like jism out of its mouth. It's so fun.
See, unlike the title for your movie, I totally misunderstood where that was going to go.
Right? It's actually kind of brilliant. And that was done by the guys who run the Butcher Shop, which just did effects for Alien Covenant.
Oh, cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mainstream-wise, something... Oh, I really liked, much to my surprise, I loved Gore Verbinski's A Cure for Wellness.
I haven't seen it, but I did think the advertisements looked really good.
Oh, dude, like, I'm not spoiling anything, but in the last half hour, it's kind of it's like an old-school Hammer Universal-style monster movie.
Oh, nice.
It's like a Frankenstein vampire movie. It's so crazy.
I'll definitely have to see that.
And I loved the new Godzilla from Japan, Shin Gojira. Thought it was brilliant. Trying to think of anything else recent. No, I think that's about it. Like, I haven't seen a whole lot of new stuff horror-wise lately. Not a lot's caught my eye. I didn't even see Get Out, and I really wanted to, but missed my chance.
Yeah, I feel bad. I didn't see it either. I don't. Did any of us here see it? Get Out.
So
yeah, Seth might have.
I just watched it the other day.
Oh, what did you think?
It was pretty good. I didn't think it was as amazing as people said, but I still thought it was a lot of fun.
Sometimes when something's really hyped up, it's hard to live up to it. If you just went in cold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If I went in cold, I would have loved it.
Another recent independent one that I just remembered, and I remembered it because one of the lead actresses in Lycanimator is in it, is called Night of Something Strange. And I think that just got a Blu-ray release.
I'll write that down.
It's about an STD that turns people into zombies, and it gives them like vagina tentacles and shit. It's really fun.
Tentacles, hooray!
Yeah, exactly. The poster's got this zombie chick with her legs spread and a tentacle coming out from between her legs. It's like that poster sums up everything that cinema is supposed to be.
Screw Oscars. This is
That's what should get Oscars, though.
Right? There could be, instead of the Oscar, it could be a tentacle.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah.
I'd be so down for that. I would not want to think about the things that some people would use the award for, but I'd
whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
They're happy with their award in many ways.
Exactly. Do you know what? I feel like they should come in like a variety. Some of them are hard, some of them are soft, some of them are translucent with glitter on the inside.
Yeah, I think this is going places.
I like the glitter one.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be like ranks. So if you're a supporting person, you just kind of get some crappy thing. But if you're the lead, you get like the glittery, floppy one or something. Whatever.
If you're supporting, it's like a little tentacle. But then if you're like a lead, you get the big engorged one.
That's great, because if you get an Oscar normally, it's all pretty much the same thing. So this will give people something to strive for.
Exactly.
It's like a who's who of tentacle awards.
Yeah. Wow.
I just posted the poster for Night of Something Strange, and I like the tagline of the movie too. It says, "Don't forget your rubbers and bazooka."
Yeah, and man, it's one of those rare movies where it lives up to that poster. It is so gross and fun.
Have you ever seen a tentacle movie you haven't liked?
I hated The Void.
Ooh.
Man, you want to talk about a monster movie where they were not so unhappy with their own monster effects that whenever they showed them, they had to have a strobe light going off.
That's true. It's true.
I was so pissed. And then they saddled me with the most boring human characters possible, gave me the most dull color palette, gave me a forgettable musical score, gave me a really good villain, and that was about it. It was like such a letdown. Such a letdown. And it's nice because I love Steven Kostansky. I thought Manborg was amazing.
I'm a huge fan of Manborg too.
Oh, dude, Manborg is so good. And he did a great short film called Heart of Carl. If you haven't seen that, then I recommend it.
Yeah. Because I love almost all the Astron 6 stuff. Like, I really like the editor, too, and in Father's Day.
I love the last half hour of, like, once they get to hell, I love that stuff in Father's Day.
That's pretty awesome. I get a kick out of the whole movie, but
I get a kick out of all, like, the jabs at Canadiana, because it's pretty sincere. Yeah. All the maple syrup gags. They're cheap, but they work.
What did you think of, because I personally couldn't get through this movie because it was terrible, but speaking of movies about Canada, what did you think of Yoga Hosers?
Hated it.
Good.
And you see, it's weird because I loved Tusk, but I hated Yoga Hosers. Tusk was a much more sincere depiction of Canadian comedy.
I think there was like 50 aboot jokes in the first like 10 minutes of Yoga Hosers.
I've lived here my entire life. I have never once heard somebody say a boot.
Didn't you guys yield the Red Green show?
Yes, we did.
I like that show.
You see, I used to... when I was like super little, like from the age of like 4 to 6, after preschool or whatever, I'd always go home and wait for The Simpsons to come on, and it was always the Red Green show right before it. So the Red Green show in my mind became that thing I had to sit through to get to The Simpsons.
It's pretty bad, but I like.
Yeah,
I find it very endearing.
I think
it's madness.
I think that kind of TV watching will be a thing of the past, though, with like the internet. Because there's a lot of things I watch as a kid just because it was on, or it was on before or after another show I liked. But I think nowadays people just don't even do that. You only watch stuff you like and might not even watch it on TV. You just go and binge watch it on, Netflix or the internet.
Yeah, I don't even really watch very many TV shows, period. I think there's only 2. There used to be 3, but one of them just ended. So now I'm pretty much down to 2 shows.
Which show ended?
Penny Dreadful.
And a lot of people are upset about that.
That was a bummer. I was so pissed. It was a show that that show was everything the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen should have been. And so I was pretty bummed when it had to go.
Yeah, that movie is very... The graphic, the comics are great for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If you've never read them, they're fantastic. The movie's very, very bad.
I'd love to read the comics because I didn't like the movie, but I love stuff that takes like classic Gothic literature and gives it kind of a new, fresh look.
Yeah, the Invisible Man's my favorite character in the comic. It's very dark.
I love the Invisible Man as a character in general, especially like I said, I grew up on the old Universal monster movies, and I loved the idea of a guy who's not only invisible, but the fact that he's invisible slowly drives him insane.
I think that's the most. I think that's the most underrated of the Universal monster movies.
Oh, it is. It's a masterpiece of special effects and dark comedy.
Yeah, I love it.
Claude Rains is amazing. He was always amazing.
So, what does your family think of the movies you make and the movies you like?
My dad says that it's probably not healthy, but it's clearly what I love to do, and so it makes him happy. My mother says it's definitely not healthy, but she can't do anything about it, so she just... my stepfather, because I have 2 sets of step-parents. I have my stepfather and my stepmother on my dad's side. But my stepfather just kind of turns a blind eye. It's none of his business. My stepmother just kind of shrugs and lives with it, and my sister thinks I'm a strange antisocial weirdo who she knows like next to nothing about, despite the fact that I live in the same building as she does.
So, when you were watching these movies as a young kid, were you allowed to watch them? Did they mind?
Oh, when I was little, like the Universal and Hammer stuff wasn't. I remember one time when I was like 7 and I was downstairs in the basement, and my mom asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm watching Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman again, and she just looked at me and said, can you please, just for 5 seconds, do something normal? And that's something that's all...
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Not to me, I think it's funny.
At the time, did you think it was funny?
Yeah, I laughed, and then she laughed, so...
All right.
I guess it depends how you say it.
It's true. It's like the title of a movie. That could be very horrible, scarring.
I think it's like they were fine with it. And then when I got into junior high and I got into the weirder stuff, I remember I think I was like 12. My dad randomly bought me Return of the Living Dead, and I think that kind of set me on a certain path. And that's when my mom started to get a little bit concerned. She didn't like the gore quite as much, but there was never like an objection to the stuff I was interested in. I always loved monsters, and I think they just thought that was kind of silly and amusing.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it was kind of funny that I was watching like Japanese subtitled movies when I was like not even in the second grade.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Besides Godzilla, which I assume that's your favorite, what are your favorite monsters?
Oh man, besides Godzilla, I'm a huge Frankenstein fan. I love the Frankenstein monster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other ones. I love Pumpkinhead. I love Gamera. King Kong. Everyone loves King Kong. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen a movie from the 80s by Michael Mann called The Keep. Yep. But The Keep has a great monster named Molasar. Mm-hmm. I love that thing. Radu from the Subspecies movies. Oh boy, I'm trying to think of Brundlefly, of course. The Skeksis from the Dark Crystal, not a horror movie, but that has great creatures in it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of others. I think those are probably the big ones that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
In terms of creatures that really stick with me that I really love.
Mm-hmm. If you ever get a chance to read The Keep, the book,
I'm reading it.
Oh, you are. It's great. It's better than the movie, I have to say.
I don't know. I think the movie. I got in an argument with Greg Lamerson about this not long ago. Not an argument, a friendly debate online about. I think the Keep, the movie, even in its current butchered state, is a objectively flawless film. And the novel, it's fun. I'm digging it. But my issue is that Molasar is just a vampire in it. There's nothing really unique or different about him.
Well, I think it changes throughout the. I won't give anything away since you haven't finished it yet.
No, I'm like so excited to get there though because I want to figure out what the ending was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know why the ending of the movie is as weird as it is, right?
I'm not sure.
It's because the effects artist died before he could complete it, and they all got together and looked at the footage, and all they saw was Scott Glenn and the monster jumping around in bungee things, and they had no clue what he was trying to accomplish. Wow. So they just said, "Fuck it, we gotta give it some sort of an ending."
Wow.
They just couldn't make heads or tails of what the effects artist was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in like Rob Bottin and Stan Winston's people and all that, and none of them could figure it out.
Damn, that's really sad because it was going to be brilliant,
right?
Had this vision that could not be translated for other people,
right? I think the ending we got it's anticlimactic, but it's pretty. That whole movie is so pretty. Scott Glenn walks in and he turns on the light sword thing and it kills the monster, and it's kind of lame, but it looks nice, so I live with it.
So where can people... were you guys about to say something, Annabelle? Sorry?
Nope.
No. I was just going to ask, where can people follow Lycanimator?
You can follow us on Twitter at Lycanimator, of course. You can find us on Facebook as Lycanimator, of course. You can reach out to Dustin Hubbard, the producer, for additional information, or myself even, We're pretty open. We're pretty laid back with it. We don't try to treat it like it's some top secret thing, even though there's some stuff about it we aren't allowed to discuss. But we will do our best to answer any questions folks have about the movie, because we love that people so far have responded so strongly to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah. We'd love... when it's closer to the movie coming out, I'd love to have you back on.
Absolutely, and I'll shoot you some links to those shorts in a bit.
Sweet.
Cool.
Looking forward to them.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Very cool. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Mark Polonia, low-budget filmmaker, and you're listening to Without Your Head.